Now, I feel like there are a lot of silver videos out there recently positioned in a way to lure you in. Sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. Lure you in and then drop an opinion on you, leaving it stuck in your head. Well, I'm not trying to do that here. I don't want to leave anything sticky in your head. And if we're being honest, it sounds kind of gross, but I do want to explain something I see going on with silver that I think everybody should think about, but I know some people won't like. So a few months ago, I got the chance to visit SD Bullion. This was along with a few other YouTube channel owners, and there was a point that I was asked what I had against silver. I wondered for a minute if I'd been ambushed, like walked right into this elaborate trap. Now my answer, of course, is that I don't have anything against silver, really. I like it just fine. But if you can imagine the question being asked in a room full of some of silver's biggest fans, well, liking silver just fine isn't quite good enough. Liking silver just fine gives some people the impression that I don't like it at all. And maybe they're right. I guess it all depends on your scale. So let me give the longer answer. Before we get into it though, if you're looking for gold or silver, check out SD Bullion. New buyers even get gold or silver for spot. That's sdbullion.com/new. One of the things that I've learned in my advanced age is that I don't have to have an opinion on everything. I can talk about gold without having an opinion on platinum. Silver, maybe a little bit different because I have a lot of firsthand experience with silver, but being neutral on it is still just being neutral on it. Now, I've had strongish opinions on the metal in the past, but they've changed over time. Now, another thing I've learned is that you should never tell a person their baby is ugly. It's not going to go well for anyone. But all jokes aside, I just wasn't there to debate certain opinions. We all agreed on a lot more than we didn't. Now, since we brought the whole topic up, let me give a few angles on silver, why I think what I do. But just like I wasn't trying to change anybody's opinion on silver there, I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion of it here. So keep that in mind. I do think, though, that there's a big reason behind silver's shameful display over the past few years. I think we can all agree that most of us have been a little bit let down by its performance. And that reason is something that I don't want to get buried in the misconception that I don't like silver, shameful display or not. Let's back it up a little bit. I used to think silver was a lot like gold, but that it had more opportunity. Because of silver's increased volatility, that gave it a little bit more of a speculative aspect. Maybe one day it would just break out and go on a run. I mean, it was possible. But that particular opinion always seemed to be really popular anytime I sought those opinions out. I started to wonder if it was my opinion or if it was just coming in from outside sources. If you were to drop into a silver forum, if you were to pop onto a YouTube channel, that's what you were going to find. Silver was always on the verge of a breakout. But here's the thing, what I've heard and what I've experienced have never really been the same thing, and over time, reality and these predictions have just been getting further apart. Let me give you an example. People were falling out of their chairs saying that the silver squeeze was going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to profit from silver ownership. I can tell you what actually happened, but I would rather show you. So the first silver squeeze was January of 2021. So right around here, we can see that there was a little bit of short-term movement. None of it was sustained, not on an upward curve anyway. I mean, all we have to do is look to the right of this chart and we can see that it's actually gone down. The second silver squeeze was May Day, so May 1st, same year. And this was well hyped. One of the people in the room had said that this was the most important event for silver in the history of the world. I mean, sometimes you have to do things for YouTube that maybe you don't like, hate the game, not the player, but the chart shows us what happened from there. Okay, so let's take a quick breather. Up to this point, I'm still not giving away any of my opinion on silver. I'm just comparing other people's opinions to what actually happened. Now, I did give my opinions on what I thought would happen with silver before, during, and after both of those silver squeezes, but it wasn't popular then, and it probably won't be popular now. So let me tell you instead what I actually did. Talk is cheap, right? Well, what I actually did was I sold. I sold pretty much all the silver that I had by the time of the second squeeze. I think it was March 1st. So, flashback to my SD Bullion tour. Imagine a motley crew of minor celebrities sitting around a table in a hotel lobby the day before the big tour. So we have SD Bullion's leadership team, we have Silver Seeker, Yankee Stacking, Silver Dragons, and Smart Silver Stacker, and then me. So friendly group, casual side chats, and then at least in my head, it gets really quiet and somebody asks me, "Now what's your problem with silver exactly?" And I'm thinking, of course, here we go. Now I made it out of there alive to tell the story, but the room was definitely stacked with a group of people with a different opinion on silver than me. So like I said, when we kicked this off, I think my answer was something like, I like silver just fine, because really I do. I don't have anything against it other than toning, but I don't ignore its actual performance to then operate on the assumption that it's on the verge of some kind of exponential run, any more than I think that gold is. And I see all the reasons people might buy silver, including the possible case that it could tear off, but I find its positives to be less compelling than gold's and its negatives to be more. The biggest negative, of course, being premiums. So no feelings in any of that. I've simply been interested in silver long enough that I've seen its fans present it one way while it went off and did something else entirely. I was around for Silver Squeeze 1 and 2 and that near constant talk about the gold to silver ratio, the GSR making it clear that we should all be buying silver instead. And then, of course, I've been around to see what actually happened. So if I was forced to give a full disclosure opinion, that no holds barred kind, I would probably say that, yeah, I think silver kind of sucks. It has not been performing, but that's not a comment on whether or not I like it. It's a comment on silver's actual performance, what we can see in the charts. It has consistently underperformed a relatively low bar that a practical expectation would hold it to, at least over the past few years. And what I would say is that with gold up 14% in 2023, while silver was down 0.5%, well, silver has a certain potential to catch up. Timing seems to be in silver's favor at the moment. But there is this one thing that I think could be leading to that lag. But before I do, I just want to say, I still like the idea of silver. I have more than 100 ounces again. I've been picking it up at different points when premiums are low and spot price was flat. And we've seen a lot of those opportunities. So again, I've picked some up. Now, most of the reasons that I buy gold also apply to silver. That part is definitely not lost on me. And because silver has a lower unit price, some of those reasons are just easier to lock in as habits. If I only had $100 a month for precious metals, well, it'd be a lot easier to put that towards silver. So similar but not the same. The differences between the two that seem significant to me are the wider use cases. So silver's industrial importance, that gets brought up a lot, and gold's relative lack thereof. But if a material is important to manufacturing, then cost needs to be controlled and availability needs to be consistent. If any of those two conditions aren't met, if silver ran away in price or demand was limited, well, industry would have to find an alternative, like say copper or graphene, and all of a sudden that demand for silver would drop. Kind of a self-correcting market. That isn't even the important distinction between the two metals to me, though. The one that I think is responsible for silver's lagging performance, and the reason that I would say that silver has been sucking, is that central banks aren't buying silver like they're buying gold. I've been talking about historic gold purchases from Eastern central banks and how this has been hard to track, but we know that it's driving up the price of gold in profound ways. But silver has not been along for that ride. Now, I'm willing to bet that if you ask the internet if central banks hold silver, you're going to find a steady stream of people saying they do. People willing to swear that central banks are actively buying and hoarding silver. But if you were to ask somebody in a position of actual authority, somebody who would actually know whether or not central banks hold silver as part of their foreign exchange reserves, you would get a very different answer. Silver just does not make sense as a financial reserve asset like gold does. And just ignore for a minute that gold is a tier 1 asset, silver is not. The downside of using gold as a financial instrument is that it's expensive to store and it's expensive to transport. And now consider that you need 80 to 90 times as much silver by weight to equal the same value in gold. That's based on price. You need to nearly double that if we're talking volume. 1 ounce of gold takes up about half the space 1 ounce of silver does. Now, if we want to look past the facts and just look at the feelings, well, like I said, I like silver just fine. I think silver can make a solid savings model. I think it has a place on an overall balance sheet, but it doesn't share the same fundamentals as gold, at least not to me. So from a feelings perspective, some of those things make me prefer gold, just no question. Now, from an opportunity perspective, silver is lagging gold significantly. So if you were starting from zero, meaning you weren't buying either metal prior to today, then past performance might lead you to assume that it really could have some catching up to do, meaning that in the months ahead, it could outpace gold by 14.5%, and that would square them up, hypothetically. The fact remains, though, that silver just isn't benefiting from an increased importance as a foreign exchange reserve asset. And if I had to guess, I would say that's the big reason the GSR has continued to diverge. Now, the last part, it's really just a guess. It's a feeling, maybe an opinion. So in that regard, I guess what I'm saying here is that might be part that only a mother could love. So let's call it good there. Let us know what you think. Have you been buying silver on this recent premium drop, thinking maybe it could catch a second wind, get back that lost 14.5%? Let us know. I mean, maybe you think it's a dog, maybe you think it's magic, but I think we could all agree that silver has done a pretty good job capturing imaginations. And while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on for two reasons. First, it lets you know when similar content hits, and second, believe it or not, we're actually coming up on 100,000 subs here, even without making silver to the moon videos. Now, I have some giveaways planned once we get there, so it should be a good time. The plan, of course, is to give away gold, but we might have to find some silver to give away too to make up for past transgressions. I think what I'm trying to say here is that if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.